Hello, everybody. Come on in to the Zoom room. So happy to see you all. I see a few people waving. Thank you for coming. Seeing all of your names pop up. While we're getting settled here, why don't you join in the chat where you're sharing or where you're joining us from? Where in the world are you?
I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. All right. Welcome.
I'm
Thank
in
you.
Dubai. Hi, I'm Valencia, LA area.
All right. Columbus, Montana. We've got the Montana contingent here tonight.
Are you able to hear me?
I can hear somebody talking.
Okay, it's Monica.
Monica, hi.
Hi, how are you? I'm from the Los Angeles area in Valencia.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got New Zealand, Utah, South Carolina, Colorado, Dubai. What time is it in Dubai? Sally's working on audio, no worries. "3:30 a.m. Well, thanks for joining us in the middle of the night. Oh my goodness. So happy you're here. Hello from Brazil. Hi, Connecticut, another Colorado. If you're just joining us, you can add in the chat where you're joining us from.
Amy?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I'm excited you're here.
I'm from Alaska.
All right. Yes. Even more daylight than here this time of year.
You got that? Yes, 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. As you're joining, I'm just going to give everybody a couple minutes to hop in and get settled, and then we'll drop in together. Andrea, did you have a question, or did you just hit the hand raise button on accident? You can unmute yourself if you need to. All right, hello from Illinois, Pennsylvania, Roanoke, Virginia. Welcome. Let me get my screen all set up here. Ready? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me here, whether you are live or watching the replay. We are all in the same space-time place, whatever time you are watching this and wherever you are, we are all here together with our energy. And just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. I am going to keep everybody muted for the most part to minimize any background noise. But you can feel free to use the chat, or hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end, and you can unmute yourself at that point, but just keep an eye on your mute button in the meanwhile. And then, yeah, definitely feel free to use the chat. I'll have some specific questions for you as we go along, but that is a good place to connect. I will try, if I see questions going by in the chat when they're coming in, I'll try and catch them and answer them, but if I miss it, you might have to add it back at the end if there's too many things for me to scroll back to. So let's take a moment. Oh, Andrea says she hit the hand by accident. No worries. Zoom is changing every day for anybody who has been using it a lot the last couple of months. Like, there's new updates all the time, so. All right, so go ahead and get settled wherever you are, just in a comfortable seated position, unless you want to lay down. And go ahead and close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Just settling your energy down. Releasing anything from the day that you don't need for the next hour or so. We'll be here together. One more deep breath in and out. And just take a moment and consciously ask any of your helping spirits who are interested in working with you, and specifically about your interest in working with the spirits of the land, to join you now. Just bring their energy into the room while we're all together. And even if you're not sure if they're there, just you making the request will bring them into your space. And my guides asked me to share the energy of a sacred place in nature that I've been working with for the last few weeks with all of you. And just take a moment, but if for whatever reason you don't want to receive the energy, you can just in your head say no, and you won't receive it. And let me share that with you now. And now take a deep breath in to integrate the energy, and out. And then you can open your eyes. All right. Well, I hope you all felt a nice surge of energy from the beautiful ancient forest here in Montana. And let's get started. The thunder started as soon as we all closed our eyes. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So if it's if it's too noisy, I'll hop up and close my window. But we have a little storm coming in. So, all right. If you're not already acquainted with me, although you found me somewhere on the internet, I will formally introduce myself. My name's Amy Dempster. I run the website Following Hawks, which really just started as a personal journal for me, a place to keep track of experiences I was having that at the time I really didn't understand, but just thought that it was a little unusual and maybe I should keep track. And over the last 6 years, I guess, that has really developed into me going from not understanding or knowing to figuring a lot of these things out and sharing them with other people. So I tend to call myself a shamanic practitioner, which really just means that I work in non-ordinary reality through shamanic journeying. So shifting into a liminal state where I can interact with other energies and my guides to do healing work and receive information. So my awakening, this path for me has been more gradual over probably the last 15 years. And in 2008 was when Hawks started really coming into my world on a very specific basis that made me start asking a lot of questions and looking into it more. And that really set me off on this journey. And then in 2014, we moved to Montana. And shortly after that time was when I started noticing trees interacting with me and talking to me. And I started asking a whole lot more questions when that happened. So that was really kind of how this has unfolded over time. And it was challenging for me to find a lot of information or a lot of help to say, you know, how do I decipher this information? What do I do with it? What's going on? Oops, hold on, let me hit mute. And so at some point I joined a shamanic healer training program, and through that process learned that many of the shamanic healing skills transfer to the land and work in similar ways with the land. And that was like the key for me that kind of unlocked the door to help me understand, oh, now I get what everyone's trying to tell me and put the pieces together. So so that's really how my journey started and how I got on this path. But why I do this now is, you know, each of us incarnated here in this particular body, in this particular lifetime, at this time, with gifts and skills that we wanted to share. And so each of us, you know, we're part of a much larger soul group. And, you know, depending on who you ask or who even knows these things, they say your soul group is maybe anywhere from 250,000 to 500,000 people that are here on the earth at the same time as you in the same bigger soul group. So when I really see what I'm doing and connecting with everybody is really just helping us find each other and, you know, reconnecting with our soul group and finding each other. And although our roles may be a little different or what we may do may be a little different, we came here to work together in some way, and that's my goal. That's what I'm doing, is hopefully reconnecting all of us. So I want to be able to share what I have figured out and what I have learned, what my guides have shown me, so that more people are able to do this work, even though each person really kind of brings it in and then alchemizes it in their own special way and uses their own gifts to do it. So for our time together, I just want to start by saying we all have the ability to do this. We all can communicate with the spirits of the land. It's, you know, if it's something that you have an interest in, absolutely you can do it. And like I said, we might just all do things differently. So what I have really kind of created and figured out along this path is a general framework. So instead of it being a very specific, you know, tradition or dogma, it really is a structure from which you can then engage with your own guides and bring that information through for you. So it's really a matter of just learning and understanding what the skills are, how to do things, and then you're off on your own journey of discovery. So if you were drawn here, then you are a light worker or a starseed or, you know, somebody that's here to do this work. So, but the problem that I find most often happens is that we kind of have that disconnect of like, I know things are going on, but now I don't know what to do about it. And we don't feel confident that the information that's coming through to us, especially through our intuition, is real, or that we're actually getting it and figuring it out. And lots of times it comes through us naturally when we're children, but as we grow up, you know, we lose touch with that, especially with things with nature, because we're just not out in nature as much, especially when we get into adulthood. So we don't necessarily notice those things anymore. So, you know, if nobody shows us how it works, we just don't know. And so even when we are receiving information, it can be either feel a little scary, or maybe like you've, you know, gone off the deep end a little bit, depending on what's happening. I certainly have had, I still do. There's still things that I'm like, did that really happen? Am I making all this up? So, you know, it's a little weird, and it's really nice when you have other people to bounce things off of and say, okay, yeah, I am getting that information. I did hear that correctly. And so, we just get, until we have that opportunity, we just kind of get stuck and we just kind of stop. And so what I hear from all the time is people who've had these really incredible connections in nature, or, experiences that they know something is happening, but they sense there's a message, but they just don't know what to do with it, or what to do next. And so once you know how to communicate with nature, then it's like you're over that spot where you've been getting stuck. And then it becomes a two-way conversation instead of just like, I feel it, I see it, I hear it, but now what? So tell me in the chat, what has your experience been like communicating with nature? Have you experienced this roadblock or this kind of stuckness where you're just not sure what to do next or how to continue the conversation? Alexandra says, I feel. I don't think I hear words or energy. Very common. It's and especially a lot of us are empaths that do this work. And so we're able to really pick up energy in our bodies, but then we don't know exactly if that's what it is. And so, because it's not a message. So you're like, well, now what do I do? That happens all the time. So, Christine says she just posted today, I assume in the Facebook group, that I may have a portal in my backyard. Ooh, very exciting. I'll have to go look for that. Yvonne says she's not sure how to start. Feels blocked. Yeah, very common. Very common that happens. So, like I mentioned, basically what I have done is put together more of a framework of all the pieces that kind of go together into this. And we're not going to cover it all tonight, but I want to show you kind of how it works, because really it's all of the pieces that go into the Earth Tenders Academy. And so, we got a couple more comments. I definitely feel there's a portal near my apartment building. Ooh, it's getting past me now. Hold on. It's kind of freaking me out every time I secure my apartment from negative entities. More come back in within days. Yes, and that working with portals is a very specific skill. It's not that difficult, but you do, there are, I don't want to call them good or bad because I don't like to look at them in that way, but there are ones that let more of the lower vibe energies in, and then it's like they come into your house, they come in, it definitely becomes exhausting. So I used to be able to connect more easily. Now I'm based in New York City, trying to figure out how to approach this work. Yeah, it's definitely a little trickier in town, but you can do it. So there's land, even when you're in, a high rise, there's still land beneath you. So, okay, not very good at screen sharing. Well, I don't know that that's a talent, but I don't do it all that often. So let me try and share my screen so you can see this. Sure. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen because I can't see it, but this is kind of the picture I drew to make it, and you don't need to necessarily see all the words if you can't see them there, but I'll go through them. But basically, there's three kind of big sections. So the first section being activate your light body, and that's really where we talk about first, like managing your own energy and the energy in your home, and making sure that you kind of have the basic skills before going deeper into any other energy work, working with other spirits. And so that's really where sacred sovereignty, really, again, understanding your own personal energy body. Illuminating your path is really talking about fears that we have when we do spiritual work, and kind of setting the stage to work safely. And then exchanging form for frequency is really about working with your vibration and frequency, and understanding how those things work, because we experience them a lot when you're kind of doing journeys and shifting from one place to another. And then the second triangle is calibrate your compass. And this is really where we'll be talking more about tonight. You're sinking into the place that you live. Sense your surroundings is all about learning about the land, the water, the ancestors, and really your personal story and how you connect to the land. And then assembling your ethereal support team, which is getting to know the spirits of the land specifically. And aligning with earth energies is really where we go into more of that. Portals, earth grids, vortexes, working with weather, those types of things all are underneath earth energies. And then finally, the third triangle is dream a new world. And this is really about, now that you've kind of uncovered and had, you know, this experience for yourself, you know, how do you share that? How do you go out in the world? And so become multidimensional is really about like working in other, working with timelines, working with time and space, sacred geometry, those types of things. Embodying the pillar of light is really healing work specifically with the land. How exactly do you do healing work? And how does that work? And then activate your ascension contract is, what are you here for? And how do you share that, you know, with other people? So that's, I just wanted to have you, or share with you that framework so you had an idea of kind of the basis of how all of these pieces fit together. So let me pull my notes back up. So tonight we're just going to really be diving into getting to know the spirits of the land. So 2 pieces of the framework, which is bringing spirit to matter, and that's really where you're you know, working with your own energy, and then assembling your ethereal support team. So as you can see from that framework, there are lots of different moving pieces to this work. And you probably hear me, if you're on my email list, you know, you hear me talk about all of these different things and try and figure out how they all fit together. That's how they fit together. So, but the spirits of the land is, you know, really the basis of that. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I promised 3 keys to doing this kind of work. So in the first key, before we do any communication, we want to make sure we're physically and mentally ready to channel, because that's what you're doing. You are communicating with a spirit. And so in order to do that, you want to be in the state where you can be both relaxed, but also focused. So you can't be so relaxed you're nodding off and falling asleep. Although information may come through in that state, it's harder for you to remember it or have a 2-way conversation. And, you know, so many of us have kind of lost along the way our ability to have a good imagination. And imagination is actually key to communication with spirits. And so any opportunity you have to practice visualization and imagining things will help you. That's how they're like telepathically sending messages a lot of times. So you're not imagining it, you're not making it up, like those are visions coming to you. And that's why I'll be sharing with you the visualization meditation from the Earth Tenders Academy, so that you can not only practice like what does it work to see something with my third eye, and trust what's coming in. So I'll send that to you along with this replay after we're done here this evening. So and then once you're in the right state of mind, you want to have a basic practice for protecting your energy and a system for evaluating the spirits that may step forward and want to communicate with you. So for me, I practice visualizing myself in a bubble of white light. And so the walls of the bubble are transparent, so I can see on the outside of the bubble. And then I just set an intention that the only spirits allowed inside the bubble are ones that I invite in, that are connected with the light, and you know, are safe spirits to interact with. So that way, when there is a spirit that either wants to communicate with me or that I've called forward, it starts on the outside of my bubble, and I can see it, and I can decide whether or not I want to communicate with it or not. And so if you have any kind of concerns or fears around doing this work or working with spirit, the bubble is really helpful because it gives you a format for evaluating instead of, you know, interacting right off. You can ignore anything on the outside of your bubble and just, you can send it back to source, you can ignore it, like it's just, it can't come inside your space. So, so that's key number 1, is preparing yourself and your energy. So in the chat, let me know where you're at with this key number 1, and we'll use some colors to help you. So you can just type in the color in the chat. So if all of this is totally new to you, you've never deliberately channeled with the nature spirit, you haven't done any kind of, you know, this protection routine, then you can say red in the chat if it's all new to you. If you feel like you know the basics for channeling, you get bits and pieces of information, but it may not make sense, or you're not sure what type of spirits you're interacting with, that can be yellow. Can you put yellow in the chat? And then if you can go into nature, you ask questions, you get answers, you feel like the information flows easily and you know who you're talking to, then that's green. You see a bunch of reds, a little bit of everything. A bunch of yellows, somewhere in the middle, yellow to green, yes. Yellow, 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 red. Perfect, all right. So then tip number 2 is, now that you're all prepared and you're ready to do this, who might you actually bump into out there in nature? And every piece of land is different. Every piece of land has lots of different energies going on. I always say it's like layers, like you're almost like peeling back, you know, layers to see what's there. But so I can't tell you everything you might interact with, but there's some common things that come up. So first of all, there's things that we actually physically see in our surroundings. So trees, mountains, plants, flowers. You can communicate with them, and you can either communicate with the individual thing, you can, you know, that tree, or you can ask to connect with the energy of all of that type of tree, for instance. So and you'll get very different answers depending on who you're talking to. So and crystals, of course, lots of people are familiar with being able to sense the energy and communicate with a crystal. But outside of that, that's where things start getting sometimes a little weird. You have to suspend your disbelief about what exists and what doesn't exist, because in non-ordinary reality, everything is ordinary and non-ordinary reality. But these things very, very much exist on the spirit plane. And I noticed that things will come through for people that they're familiar with. So if you're somebody that like does a lot of reading and is really connected with kind of, you know, like fantasy type characters, and you know what they are, oftentimes those are the ones that'll come through because you know what it is. And it's not going to be something really, really, you know, random to you. But outside of that, the ones that anytime I tune into a piece of land or do a property reading, the ones that I always specifically call forward, first of all, is the keeper of the land. And the keeper could show up in almost any format, but for me, I notice they're usually animals or insects, very, very common. And not necessarily an animal or insect that lives in that area. So don't think it's weird when like an armadillo shows up for someplace in Florida. Like I've had that happen. Like, that's very weird. But it's like, it's the energy that's coming through and you're just kind of picking it up in this way, or they're showing themselves to you in this way. And so the keeper of the land oversees a large area, and just depends on the keeper and this particular area, how big. Sometimes they'll show me on a map how big of an area they cover. And so it's not just at your house. It's like everybody's keeper in your neighborhood. And they most likely know or have an opinion about whatever's happening in the neighborhood. So that's the go-to, you know, spirit if there's like kind of a bigger level energy problem. They usually know what's going on, and like I said, we'll tell you or we'll give you their opinion. And then the next group that I always ask to speak with are the ancestors on the land. So they are typically the energies of people who lived on the land long before you did. And if there is any unresolved trauma in this area, the ancestors are likely the ones that are going to want to talk about it, or show it to you, or you know, even experience it. So again, this is like if you're a feeler and you're an empath, like you may really feel some of the experiences that have happened. And just remember that it's that's how, again, it's like telepathically coming through. They want you to understand this happened here and maybe we want to do something about it. or sometimes they just want to tell the story. So that's usually, sometimes they'll just say, this was just an area we passed through. We didn't really use it all that often, you know, or this is where we would hunt or fish. So sometimes you'll get lots and lots of information from ancestors, and sometimes not so much. And then the grandmother or grandfather trees. And when I say that, usually people know right away in their head. I know what tree that is in my neighborhood. It might be on your property, but it might just be somewhere further out in your neighborhood. And they are usually overseers, protectors. A lot of times they are doing actual energy work. They're holding energy. They're moving things around, they're balancing energy, like they usually have a job. And so this is, you know, in the Facebook group, everybody shares all their favorite trees, usually from their neighborhoods. And that's usually what, those are the grandmother and grandfather trees. So they love offerings. So you can always ask them if there is something they would like. Oftentimes they'll say, come sing me a song, or just bring me extra water, or whatever. So they always enjoy that. And then once I kind of go through those specific groups, then I'll just ask, like, is there anybody else here who wants to communicate with me? Oftentimes that's when you're going to see fairies. That's when they'll come forward, if it's a really busy fairy homeland area. And all number of mythical beings. Mythical. So I'm sure heard me talk about all of my interactions with Bigfoot around here. That would be a good example. And that's exactly what it is they're just, these energies are living with us on the land. They're just in another dimension. And so when we're able to, you know, connect and communicate this way, then you'll realize how much activity is really going on in the area. So, and then of course, there are many places that have their fair share of ghosts, for lack of a better term, but they're basically people who've died and who have not crossed over. And they are really handy to discern by using your bubble, because the deceased people who have not crossed over will stay outside your bubble. And then you know. And you can either, again, they're outside your bubble, you can deal with them if you have skills to do that and help them cross over, or you can just leave them. Just because you see them doesn't mean you have to get involved with them. So you can also ask any spirit, any energy at all that comes forward, are you connected to source, and are you working with the light? And if they can't answer yes, then they can stay outside the bubble. And sometimes there's energies where you just realize, like, when they come close to you, you just like, wow, that's a lot of energy, and it can feel a little intimidating. So if it's more comfortable for you, like, just work up to it. You're like, I don't think they're a problem, but it's a lot for my energy. And you can always ask them to dial it down too. So like they don't always know how strong they're coming through to you. So, okay. So, oh, and yeah, it's your choice who you want to interact with. Just because they show up doesn't mean you have to talk to them or do anything with them. So tell me in the chat, again, we'll do the colors, if you've met any of the cast of characters in your neighborhood. So if you haven't met any of them, then you can say red. And if you feel like maybe you know the grandmother or grandfather tree, or have met one of these, like the keeper or one of these spirits before, then you can put yellow in the chat. And if you're well versed and you can call on them and you know who they are, then that would be green. Okay, lots of reds and yellows. Hello, I think, yeah. Awesome. Perfect, well, you're in the right spot. All right, and then tip number 3 is really about deepening your connection. So once you get to know them, you want it to be more of an ongoing conversation instead of just a one-off, like, oh, I think a tree talked to me today situation. And so what happens is, in order to communicate, is you have to find a matching vibrational frequency with them. And it's not something you have to think about, but just so you understand how it works. Basically, it's like tuning the radio and like finding the station. And so they're bringing their energy down to connect with you, and you've usually got to raise yours up a little bit to find them. And when you kind of hit the matching spot, that's when the message can come through. So you just need to set an intention that you would like to communicate, because it's like a switch goes on, right? And so the light flips on, and they know that you want them to come closer. And so they will telepathically, like I said, transmit information, and that can come in visions, in where, like, you might hear a message, you could smell a message from them, you could sense it, or just know it. And I have found over time that, like, it kind of comes to me in all different things, depending on the spirit, depending on the time, and probably depending on how receptive I am to the message. And so it doesn't always come through as like a fully formed paragraph of information, and it takes practice on your end and their end. So, because they have to figure out, like, oh, how do you receive this, or where they're trying to dial the channel into. So, and then keep in mind that there's lots of other ways to channel, including things like artwork. So if you really feel like guided to create art, and you kind of go into that no space, no time thing, that's channeling in that way. And so, and a lot of healers, that's exactly what they're doing. They are channeling healing energy from their guides, from source energy, through their body, through their hands. So lots of different ways to channel. So keep in mind, many of these spirits have never been human. So they don't have that concept. Like, they just don't like, sometimes I have to tell them things like, well, I can't go to that place that you want me to go. Like, physically, I can't get there. The road is closed, or whatever. So, we can always do things in energy and in journeys. But sometimes they miss the human element because they haven't had that experience. So, so if you're just getting like single word phrases or one picture, like, just know, like, it is coming through. That's how it works. And the more you get acquainted and the more you interact, the more developed the messages will be. And so just remember that they're not all knowing oracles who can answer every question and know everything. Different spirits have different capabilities. And so you can, if you're wanting to do something specific, you can ask for a spirit to come forward that has that knowledge or has that ability. So I just suggest go outside, find a spot in nature that you're comfortable and can sit quietly for a little bit. You can close your eyes, put your protective bubble around, and ask for a spirit to step forward. You can ask for something specific, or just, somebody in that area that wants to communicate with you. So remember, you are building a relationship, so it's not all about you and what you want to know. You want to get to know them too, and be asking them questions. So just think about it. If you met a new friend, what would you ask them? And, what would you want to know? And is there any way you can help them? Because sometimes, depending on the area and what's happened in that area before, they may need some time to trust you and to trust humans at all. They may have either had negative interactions with humans, or nobody has talked to them for so long that it's just like a weird anomaly that somebody is talking to them. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, I sat there and nothing happened. Like, they probably sat there and scoped you out. Like, they're waiting to see if you're going to come back. So visit as often as you can. Although I think people feel like, well, I don't have to, like, I can't go every day. Like, once a week going somewhere is a lot to a tree. If you think about like the lifespan of a tree. And so the more often you're able to visit a specific area and tune in, the faster they'll get to know you and trust you. And then always you can share an offering. And I usually suggest something really simple, like a little bit of water, or, like I said, a song. They love songs. Any song at all. You can just intend that it's for them and intend that it's an offering. And you can, even like a strand of your hair, that's your DNA, and you're sharing it with the land. And so it doesn't have to be like big, elaborate altars and offerings, unless that's something that you love to do, and then feel free and go for it. So over time, you'll just start seeing that pattern of communication, and you'll start getting comfortable with how things come in and trusting what's coming in. So I love to keep a journal. That's why I started the blog in the first place, but I also have my notebook I take with me everywhere. And so I can look back and start to see patterns, or see like, oh, they gave that to me months ago, but I didn't understand it. And now I have this other piece, and now I understand it. So a journal is really helpful for that. So, okay, that's tip number 3. So let's see where we're at with the colors again. If you don't have a spot that you sit in nature to meditate or communicate yet, then that would be red. And then if you have a spot and you visit it regularly, but you don't sit there, with the intention to receive messages, then that would be yellow. And then if you have a regular spot where you like to visit and communicate and interact with the spirits of the land, then that would be green. Got a little bit of everything on this one. Lots of greens, all the regular getting out in nature peeps. Okay. So let's review now that we got through all the details. So key number 1, step number 1 when communicating is preparing yourself and protecting your energy. So if you're not in the right state of mind, or you don't have a process for evaluating the spirits that want to connect with you, communication could be more difficult for you, or you could end up interacting with a spirit that is unhealthy or that you don't want to interact with, and could be a drain on your personal energy. So when you are aligning and connecting with high vibration spirits, you receive loving guidance for your highest and best good. And it feels good when you interact with them. They always make you feel loved and supported. Sometimes it's tough love, but loved and supported all the same. Key number 2 is to know the players. So get to know the unique spirits of the land in your neighborhood so that you can best work with them to create a thriving environment. They have lots of opinions about plant this here, clean that up, fix the fence, whatever, cut this branch, pick up trash. So the more you help them with those things, the more the information will flow. And then finally, number 3 is strengthen your connection. So visit and check in with the spirits on a regular basis to deepen your friendship. And once they trust you, the information will start flowing, and you will be transformed by their support and wisdom. So tell me in the chat which one of these you are most excited to try first now. What are you gonna put on your calendar to do?
Amy?
Yeah.
I am so looking forward to the whole thing, because I live in Eagle, Alaska, which is right on the Yukon.
Okay.
And we have ancient mountains just surrounding us.
Oh, yeah.
And the energy there is phenomenal. And in my front yard is the biggest tree in Eagle, and it's a big, beautiful grandmother birch tree. And she is just, you touch her and you can just feel her vibrating. It is so beautiful.
Amazing.
I'm looking forward to the
All
whole
right.
thing.
Well, you have your to-do list then.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I'm looking through some of the other comments. I want to find my special spot, sit at a tree, set intentions and ask questions, make a special connection in the backyard and neighborhood. Yeah, so many good things. Getting to know who is in my neighborhood, deepening the connection, building relationships. I'm so excited to hear what happens when you all tune in and start doing this. Oh, there's some more. Yeah, in the city in Dubai, not as many plants and trees. I bet there aren't. And you can always energetically connect, even when you're on. And the concrete, remember the concrete transmits the electrical current from the earth. So even when you're on the concrete, you can put your feet, your bare feet flat on concrete and still be connected to earth energy. So, so don't forget about that. But Ellen wants to talk to a grandmother tree who was recently cut down. Yeah. They want offerings oftentimes too. So, to honor them. So can we tell the bugs and ticks to leave us alone? Yes. Some listen better than others, but same type of thing. You want to, you can't even put your energy bubble on of protection. But what I would probably do in that case is connect with the kind of like over spirit. I don't know, there's probably a better name for it, but the spirit of all the ticks, all tick energy, and ask them to respect your boundaries in your personal space. And yeah, the tick deva, probably so. And then let them know that, this is one of those kinds of cases of like, it's unhealthy for us if the ticks are biting us. And unfortunately, if the boundaries aren't respected, one of them or more of them will have to be killed if they have to be removed from, my body, my dog's body, that type of thing. So you can have a conversation with them about that and let them know what the situation is. So can a personal ancestor talk through a tree? I think I caught that before it zipped by. Certainly. I mean, it might be, the ancestor may really align with the energy of that tree, or maybe bringing through, there may be a message like connected to the ancestor in the tree. So yeah, you'll have to ask and see what the connection is with that. And I'm missing some of these as they go, but we have a tree that needs to be pruned in height to survive. Do we ask if it's a good idea to top the tree? Yeah, you absolutely can ask, and you can let them know. I usually find with trees, they're already well aware of the problem. And so they're usually really quick to say, we understand what needs to happen, or give you a suggestion of how they'd like to see it happen. So, we live in a forest here, and so trees have to be thinned in some areas so that it's for the health of, and that's what the trees usually say to me. They understand it's for the health of the forest in this case, like for the greater good in that case. But yeah, you can ask them, do they have any specific suggestions, on how the pruning can be accomplished in the best way. So I recently asked the spirit of the land to tell the rogue squirrels to quit damaging my plants, and it seems to have worked. Yay! I love it. Yeah, it's, you win some, you lose some. But yeah, usually if you can, try your best to set your boundaries or make it clear, like, you can have the fruit on this tree, but could you leave the fruit on this tree for me? Those types of things. So, okay. So before we go and wrap up, I do want to say that if you're really you're feeling called to go deeper into nature, working with the ancestors, the spirits of the land, I would absolutely love to have you join me in the Earth Tenders Academy, where we go through all of those different categories on the framework. And in the Earth Tenders Academy, you'll have the time, the space, and the support to be asking all of these questions, doing this work, experimenting, getting feedback from myself and others who have already participated, and really understand more of the energy. Why do places pull you in or push you away? What are your special gifts that you can share with the earth, and how are you feeling called to do this work? So the Earth Tenders Academy has been recently completely updated, upgraded. I added a bunch of new content and meditations, but it is a 9-module online course. It's self-paced, so as soon as you join, you get access to all of the material, but then you can work through it at the pace that is most comfortable for you. And each week has both video lessons from me and then guided meditations and opportunities to go deeper, like kind of homework type things that you can work on or learn more about. So, and then once a month, we all get on Zoom together, and I lead a guided meditation or healing or some type of collective group journey, and then we do questions and answers. So there's lots of time to have feedback like this on different types of things that you're experiencing. And that's the number one thing that most people say they really love and appreciate, is that opportunity to engage and the community aspect. And I wanted to share with you, I've been hopping on some video chats lately with some past students to ask them about their experiences. And so I've made a page on my website. I'll show it to you, but I'll put it here in the chat too, and then I'll come back to, oh, Sarah says, how long do we have access to the modules once you join? It's lifetime access, and it's really, the way I see it, it's not, you know, I've done a lot of online courses where it's like a container, you're in it, it's over, it's done. And the way I see this, like I said, it's our soul family reconnecting to do this work. And so it's really interesting to see how things unfold over time. So even when you're done with the material, oftentimes there's smaller groups of us that get suddenly called together to work on something. Someone will say, I just did this journey and this is what happened, and I was told to work with you on this. And then, you know, that person will do a journey, and then they pull in another person, and it's all this different group work, which is really, really fun and really cool to see. You know, this is how we're doing this new earth thing. Hold on, let me put this in the chat so you can see it. Okay, so this is where you can watch some of these videos, and let me screen share back to it so you can see it. Share. So Tracy here, we actually talked a lot about the community aspect, and she had said it's amazing the interconnectedness when you get a group of people doing this work together. There's no other groups like this. And so you can hear her all about her experience with that. Dawn said every aspect of the program was designed to embrace the initiate and the seasoned explorer. The content was well-crafted, fresh, flowed with natural ease, and encouraged a deep exploration of the material covered. And then I have a little video chat with Kathy, who has been doing this work for years and years. But she said, humans lost this magic and enchantment a long time ago. I'm grateful to Amy for being one of the great pillars of light who's saying yes to deepening this connection in the land. And honored she feels that way. Jackie said, I feel like I have more tools in my spiritual toolbox now to work with the land and its inhabitants, portals, vortexes, etc. The information, things to consider, and all of the layers you provided have deepened my work. Sharon and I chatted about, this was a new experience for her. She was new to energy work, and she said, this is the first course I've taken where I actually got to have the experience of what was being taught and realized I'm doing this. I can trust myself, which is like the big thing for so many of us, you know, when we first start doing this, is to know that. So Jenny says, I've heightened my intuition and can more easily hear spirit. I have also learned to trust what I'm hearing, and that the manner in which information comes to me can be completely different than how others hear information, which is totally, totally true. And then finally, Lindsay said, working with both the ancestors of the land and the ancestors of our blood is a key point I think some people miss out on. It was a very enriching experience. So if you're interested, go check out that website. You can watch the videos. Let me come back off the screen share. You can watch the videos there if you're interested. And if you saw the email earlier today, like I said, I did recently upgrade and add a lot to the Earth Tenders Academy recently, and really to match this new energy in 2020. And the old price goes away tomorrow at 10 a.m. So if you're feeling like, yes, this is for me, I want to do this, join us tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. And after 10 a.m., the price will go up. And then I also have a special bonus, brand new, just for this week. I'm looking at my calendar, the 30th, next Tuesday. Everybody who joins before the end of the month, we're going to do an Earth Tenders Academy virtual retreat in September. And it won't just be 2 days of me talking on Zoom, I promise. It's going to be very fun and interactive. And we'll be doing property readings. We'll be doing work together, kind of in small groups and also all together. There'll be lots of opportunity to engage and ask questions. But I want to make sure that people have enough time to go through the material in the Earth Tenders course before we get to that point. So I have to have a cutoff on kind of last opportunity to be able to join the retreat. So if you want to join us for the retreat, make sure you join before the end of June, next week. What else? Is that it? Let me look at the comment or questions. Anything else in there? Go ahead and add if there are any more questions. Now is the time. And yeah, let me know what your big takeaway is. I'm trying to find, let's see. Can it help your connection to do some research on the land you're on before trying to connect? It certainly can deepen your understanding, and it is a part of the Earth Tenders Academy. It's actually the, I think, second module. We talk a lot about getting to know the land in a physical way. So your water, the geography, you know, those types of pieces, but also learning the history and knowing what did happen on the land, what exactly happened when the land was settled. Because oftentimes the story that is most commonly found in your community, and I find this all the time because I go look things up when I do property readings for people. The ancestors will tell me a whole story and then I'll be curious and I'll go look it up. And like the only information I'll find anywhere is something that says, you know, and then the native tribes sold the town to the settlers. And that's it. There's nothing else. And so I have a lot of suggestions as to how to find more information, how to go deeper, how to find some of these stories so that you can really understand what really did happen, depending on where you're at in the world. And, you know, understand what might be coming through when you are interacting. So absolutely it can help to know more about that. So let's see. I answered that one. Oops. I'm trying to get, oh, link for the, yes. Who wants the link for the Earth Tenders Academy? That'd be helpful. I'll email it out to you guys afterwards, but let me put it in here really quick. It is, sorry, my chat keeps, here's the link. It is $379 for a one-time purchase or 4 monthly payments of $99. So, Christine says she's excited to go sit with her boulder and see what comes in. Does the course touch upon helping spirits cross over? Yes, there is a whole video and a meditation specifically to walk you through it so that you can do it and understand how it works. Because I find a lot of people are nervous about it. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, that was fine. So depending on your special gifts, oftentimes people, well, there are people who one of their gifts is to help people cross over. And usually there's some very specific ways to know that. You're usually the people who, like, your whole life has had a line of spirits, like in your bedroom when you go to bed at night. Like they all want something. They know they're seeking you out. And so if that is you, I can, all of that information is in the course to help you know how to do it. But even if it isn't you, it's like a public service, you know, you can do, right? When you come across one of these spirits to help them get crossed over. Because a lot of them, they know there's a problem and they just want to go, but they need somebody to open that door, and you can do that. And so most of them do not need extensive counseling services. Some do, but most of them do not. So, okay, what's the best way? Oh gosh, I keep losing it here. I think it was something about portals. What's the best way to start working with portals. Worried about a potential portal. I have no idea how to start investigating. So on my blog, I don't know if you found it, is an epic blog post that explains the whole what happened when I opened the portals here. So that's a good way to start understanding kind of what works and how it does. Then my friend Amr and I, she was the one that we did this work together. We wrote a portal guidebook that is actually, so the blog post is like the story of what happened, but gives a lot of kind of information. The guidebook is like, here's how to do it. And so that is on my website as well. If you go to workwithme.followinghawks.com, like all of my offerings are there, including that. And so the guidebook is actually the step-by-step, but usually the short version of portals that are problematic is like, you gotta close them somehow, you know, and it's in spirit. I mean, sometimes I'm like, this is where your imagination comes in, right? You're like taking a heavy piece of metal and dropping it on top and then welding it shut, you know, or something. Like you can work with the keeper and the guides, because that's also the question, you know, you have to work through, like, does this need to be closed or is there some other purpose? Like there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So I would very much suggest the guidebook to help with that. So Annette says, very happy with this webinar. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And considering enjoying, please do. I would love to have you. Christine says, you made it sound very doable. I have ease in accessing spirit and angelic realms, and now I can take what I already know to do and talk to my rock. Exactly. Yeah. Once you know the moving pieces, it makes sense. All right. Hopefully I'm not missing anything in here. Stacy says, excited to start this fascinating journey. Thank you. You're welcome. And Joanna is considering, yeah, I'd love to have you, Joanna. You're welcome. You're welcome. I've conversed with an old historical building and wonder if you had this experience. Yes. Yeah, and I go into this more in the Earth Tenders Academy about kind of how I determine if I'm just going to tune into the land or the land and the house, or what to do with the house, or when to do that. But buildings are kind of the same way. And it is, especially old historical buildings, this is really where the layers come in, right? You've got like the building itself, then you've got probably energies of people that are hanging around that maybe don't need to be hanging around. Then you've got just energy, emotions, feelings, you know, types of things from years of people being there. And then who else? Who knows what else? Then that's when, then you start finding, you know, this spirit and that spirit and a portal over there and all of those other things. And so, so yes, that's really when, and the other piece in, or kind of the big piece in the Earth Tenders Academy is like how to do a property reading, and step by step, and obviously meditations to walk you through that as well. And that's really where I go into depth on how that works and how to do that. So, okay, thank you, thank you. Do we get a certificate? You know what? I've never created a certificate because, you know, my belief really, again, is like I'm creating a container and kind of showing you the ropes. But you're going to connect with spirit. You're going to connect with your guides. Like the information is going to come through for you. And seems weird for me to give you a certificate for that. I don't know. But no, I have not. You don't get a certificate at the end. But I know multiple people who have gone through the program and have decided to start offering property readings because they feel confident enough in their abilities to do that when they're done. And so if that's something that is of interest to you, I feel very confident that if you go through the material and work through it, that you'll be able to do that when you're done. So let's see, hopefully I'm not missing anything here. I had a dream that last night. Oh, I had a dream about that last night, and I think it might be a new gift emerging. Awesome. This webinar has been very informational, great starting point, wonderful. Well, also appreciated that it's at 9:30 in Australia. Yes. Yes, this was good timing. This was good timing for Australia and New Zealand and not for apparently Dubai and also the UK. That's all middle of the night. So you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Is this the same way we talk to crystals? Yes. And yes, there will be a replay. So yep, same thing. I mean, really, and you can, obviously with a crystal, you can hold it and feel into its energy, ask, you know, what messages it has for you. Some crystals have like actual, you know, guides or spirits attached to them or that are connected to their frequency. And some it's just like the stone itself. I'm feeling that while I'm holding it. You guys probably are too. But yes, absolutely. You can do the same process with that. So, did you use dowsing rods to find the portals, and are there nature spirits usually hanging around? No, I did not use dowsing rods. This is one of those situations of like the knowing, where when I received the message that there were 7 portals and I was like, well, how am I going to find those? And then it was like, I just knew. I knew exactly where they were. And the information just came through that way. So yes, there are lots of nature spirits. There's also lots of star beings that use them. So there seems to be, there was more work for me at the beginning of making sure that the vibration was such and it was safe here for them to operate and for all of these different things. And then once the guardian spirits were here and kind of like called in and got themselves all arranged, they all kind of like take care of themselves. So I just kind of like oversee things and like help if there's any help that's needed. But sometimes I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing over there? And they're like, don't worry about it. We're doing our own thing. So it doesn't always involve me. But there's definitely a lot of energies that hang around. And if you ever do one of the journeys on my YouTube, there's one for the yellow portal and one for the red portal, you'll probably meet Bigfoot, because that's who seems to like be in charge of security around here. Everybody always says, I did your journey and Bigfoot came and like saw me right away when I showed up. And so that's who's like, if your energy's coming in here, then somebody's going to come take a look at you. But then they're nice. They'll escort you where you want to go. I was thinking of getting people connected to you when I do my website. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, did I get to the end? Lots of information. Your course sounds great. Lovely. I just would absolutely love to have you all join me. So again, if you're contemplating, 10 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow is when the price will switch. So jump in tonight. Again, I will send the replay. My internet's usually a little slow, so it might take an hour or two, but I'll send the replay out along with the visualization meditation tonight and the link for the Earth Tenders Academy. And then, yeah, I think don't forget that you'll be in the retreat for September as well. So one more question. Do we have to be clairvoyant to connect with the spirits of the land? Can you share how to develop clairvoyant abilities since it's not fully open? Yes, so no, you don't, because the information can come through all different senses. And that visualization meditation, do that one. That one's really good at helping, because some of it is just a matter of understanding. I think most of us have an idea of what it means to be clairvoyant, but when it actually starts coming in, it feels different maybe than you expected. So this meditation will help you have that experience. And your imagination, it sounds, we need to like change that word, because we think that imagining makes it not real, but imagining is how they show us the pictures. So that's a good way to develop your clairvoyance. So what's the price going up to? It's going up to $444. So I think that's like $65 more. And then we'll still be a payment plan, but I think then that works out to be like $111 per month or something like that. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So honored that you spent your evening, your middle of the night, or your morning with me. And I hope it was helpful. And again, I hope to see you in the Earth Tenders Academy, and see you soon. Good night, everybody.